Molly's background. Come here, Angela. Come on. You wanna know? You can say hi. Oh. Say hi. Say hi. She hates the camera. She will look everywhere but the camera. Okay. Hi besties, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, my name is Julia and I'm so happy that you are here. Today we're going to be going over my November TBR, and this one's going to be a little bit different, which if you saw my last video then you already know that this one is going to be a mood reading month. But for those that did not see my last video, I am going to, like I said, be doing a mood reading month. So what that is going to look like is I'm going to go through in this video the books that I am in the mood for. I went through my physical TBR and picked out all the books that seem intriguing to me, sound interesting to me, and set them in a pile. And obviously there's a ton of books, but I am not going to be able to read all of them this month. Are you so comfy? So obviously, because there are so many books that I grabbed off of my physical TBR that I am in the mood for, I won't be able to read all of them, but I wanted to do a bit of mood reading this month because if you didn't see from my last video, I talked about how I am in a bit of a reading slump. There's so many books that I want to read and I don't know which one to pick and where to start. And I just felt like it was going to be pointless to do another TBR video, do TBR jar, or have my followers choose my TBR for the month if the last few months I haven't been actually reading those books that I put on my TBR at the beginning. So I decided it would be smarter to just do a mood reading month and film a vlog of the entire month of what books I choose and my thoughts throughout the book and my final ratings at the end of the video. So make sure to stay tuned for that video. It'll be obviously at the end of this month, like I said, and throughout the month I'm also going to have other videos that I'm going to put up as well. But I wanted to do this too because the last couple months of being in a slump, I just know for me personally the best way to get out of a slump is to do mood reading, and I know that that is definitely how it is for a lot of people out there. And if you are in the middle of a slump right now, first of all, don't worry, you are not alone. I am most definitely with you on that one. And second of all, I highly recommend doing the same. Just mood read and take your time with the books that you are reading. Don't rush through them. If you're anything like me, it almost becomes a competition with yourself and you start to tear yourself down if you're not keeping up with what you expected of yourself at the beginning of the month or what you thought you were going to do. So if you're like me in that sense and relate to that, then I highly recommend that you do a mood reading month with me as well. So with that all being said, let's go through all the books that I picked out that intrigued me for this month. So the first book at the very top is Good Girl, Bad Blood. I am still kind of in a fall mindset, but at the same time also in the winter and Christmas mindset. I am definitely one of those people where as soon as it hits November 1st, I am all for all the Christmas things. So I'm already in the Christmas vibes of things, but for some reason, reading wise, my brain is in fall mode still. So I want to read a couple cozy mysteries, or I'm looking to read at least one cozy mystery this month. And so I have a few on the list that I'll go through. So first one, like I said, Good Girl, Bad Blood. This is the second book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I just recently read the first book back in September, which is also in my previous video. Side note, I highly recommend that you check out that video if you haven't already, because I did do my very first giveaway in that video. So make sure to go check that out if you want to enter into the giveaway. But going back to this book, like I said, this is the second book in this series. If you haven't heard of this series before, in the first book, the very beginning, it starts out with the premise of Pip, the main character, who is really passionate about crimes and, you know, wants to be a detective. She just like has that detective urge, but she is a high schooler, and at her high school, there was a girl in the first book, the very beginning. It starts out with a girl that a few years prior had been murdered. And at that time, the boyfriend was framed for the murder, but he also died. And so the police had said that he had committed suicide, and it was all because he felt guilty for murdering his girlfriend. and a few years go by and Pip still doesn't feel like that sits right with her. She doesn't think that the boyfriend killed the girlfriend. So she decides that she's going to take it upon herself to try and solve the murder and find out who actually killed the girl, and if she is right on her hunch, and prove, hopefully, the boyfriend innocent. Even though he's passed away, she wants to do it for the family, because the boyfriend has one brother and then his parents, obviously, and they have been living a horrible life of dealing with everyone constantly judging them and not being able to like really feel comfortable going out in public. So still at the beginning of the book, this is all things that you find out at the very beginning of the book. So Pip decides to go over and talk to the boyfriend's brother and let him know that she is going to try and prove his brother's innocence. His name is Ravi, the brother. And so Pip and Ravi decide to be partners and try and figure out who actually murdered the girlfriend and prove Ravi's brother innocent. So that is the premise and start of the first book, and it goes from there. The second book is following that and a continuation from there, obviously, because that is what a series is. So I'm excited to get into this one. It has headphones on the cover because she starts a true crime podcast. So I am excited to get into this one, continue the series, but I think that I might listen to this for the most part on audiobook. I'm trying to balance reading a bunch of books and catch up on a personal goal I set for myself at the beginning of the year for reading, and I got a little behind. So I might be reading this on audiobook. I have a few free credits that I wanted to use on some books and try and catch up on that goal. And the easiest way for me to catch up is to listen to an audiobook when, I'm driving to and from work, or I'm doing chores or anything and can't necessarily read a book physically, but still want to be reading. So I'll probably listen to this one on audiobook at some point this month, but this is the first book on my radar. Second book on my radar, and this one I'm actually currently in the middle of, so this one most definitely is on my TBR. That is Fourth Wing. I just got my special Christmas edition copy, or is it holiday edition copy of Fourth Wing in the mail yesterday, and I've been reading the original copy that I had so far, and I am currently 100 pages exactly into the book. If you haven't heard of it before, this is a fantasy book, and like I said, this is the holiday edition special cover. This is what the original looks like, but I absolutely am obsessed with this new holiday copy. It's so beautiful, and I'm so glad I was able to get my hands on it. It also does have the black sprayed edges, which I love, and I was excited to get this one so that I can have it on my shelf next to my Iron Flame, which yes, also I have, and has the black sprayed edges. I made sure when I originally bought Fourth Wing to immediately pre-order Iron Flame because I knew that it was going to be popular. Everyone's going to be running to get their hands on it, and I wanted to make sure I also did the same. Anyway, Fourth Wing, if you haven't heard of it before, I genuinely would be surprised if you haven't, but Fourth Wing is about Violet, and she is about to go to dragon riding school, basically. She is told by her mother that she is going to be going to this dragon riding school, and it's not easy to get into. There are a lot of challenges that you have to face in order to get to this school, physically, literally get to this school, and also to stay in the school. And once you are there, if you are able to make it through to graduation, then amazing, but there are a lot of chances where you could be killed and could die. So when they are going to the school, they literally have to cross over this very skinny pathway to get there, and a certain percentage of people that are trying to go to the school, I forget what they're called, but all the people that are trying to go to the school have to cross this path, and it's kind of like their first test. You go through all of these different trials and other tests as well as going to school. So there's fighting rings, stuff like that you have to do, and all of that is to prepare for the threshing, which is when you are going to try and bond with a dragon. And not all dragons choose a rider, and so not all riders get a dragon. And the main saying of Fourth Wing is, a dragon without its rider is a tragedy, a rider without their dragon is dead. So it sounds like a very intense fantasy, and I'm only, like I said, 100 pages into it, but it is also a really good fantasy so far. It was such a smooth start, and I was immediately immersed into the world and the new characters and everything, and it was easy to pick up on all of the different like terms and names for the most part. There are some words that are really difficult for me to pronounce, but that's always how it goes with fantasy books, so that's nothing new. But nonetheless, it's a really fun book. I'm really enjoying reading it, and I highly encourage that you read it as well if you haven't already. And I'm excited to finally be getting to it because I wanted to make sure to read it soon enough for when Iron Flame came out. So Fourth Wing is on my list for TBR for sure for this month of November, but also on my radar is Iron Flame. And I am really hoping that I can get to that this month as well. I have a feeling I might, because by the end of Fourth Wing, so many people are like obsessed in it. I don't know if it ends on necessarily on a cliffhanger, because I haven't really paid attention to people's reviews on the book, because I really didn't want any spoilers. I tried my absolute hardest to avoid any spoilers, and I was pretty successful so far, praying that it stays that way. But I do know that a lot of people were very eager to read the second book, also probably because the Fourth Wing was just such a good book in the first place, and so they were excited to get more of that world. So Iron Flame is the sequel to the series. I don't know anything about this book, and I don't want to. I refuse to read the back of the book and the synopsis on it because I don't want any spoilers while I am obviously reading the first book. So all I can tell you is this is the second book. Someone was telling me that there's going to be 5 books in the series. I'm not 100% sure if that is true or not, but I am pretty positive. They seem pretty confident about it. So this sounds like it's going to be the second book of 5, but I am enjoying the series so far. So I can't wait to hopefully soon in this month get to Iron Flame as well. But it also has the sprayed edges, and it's also such a beautiful cover. And I am so excited to have these on my shelf together. Like, look at that! I'm so excited. And then the black edges. It's just so fun. So that is the next book. And next I have Ever the Hunted, which is another one that I picked up from my TBR. This, if you are not new to my channel and have been here for a little bit, you know that I've had this on a couple TBRs in the past and didn't get to it. And it was not like by choice, it wasn't on purpose. I most definitely really want to read Ever the Hunted. I just wasn't able to get to it in time. I am a little bit of a slower reader, and there's nothing wrong with that. And usually I tend to only read about 2 or 3 books a month, and on a really good month, 4 books. And that is okay, that is normal, especially for someone like me that is working a job on top of doing this channel. I don't have as much time as someone that is doing YouTube full time to be able to just read books whenever, at any point in the day. So I'm really hoping to get to this in the near future, if not this month, but Ever the Hunted is definitely on my radar as well. I'm really just in the mood for fantasies this month and murder mysteries. That's just kind of the vibe I'm going for. So Ever the Hunted, if you have not heard of it before, I'm not personally too familiar with either, but I heard someone talking about it and really hyping it up. They said that it was a book that is not talked about nearly as much as it should be, that everyone should read this book, and that it was one of their 5-star reads, and they were obsessed with it and highly recommend it. I'm not sure how long it's been out. I think it's been out for a few years. It's not necessarily a new book. Yeah, it came out in 2016. So it's obviously not a new book, but this one person that I saw on TikTok talking about it was raving about it, obsessed with it, and said that everyone should read it. So that is all I know about it. And the only part that I read about the back of the book, it says at the top, how can you track down a killer when he's the boy who stole your heart? I was already intrigued by just that explanation in general, and I was absolutely obsessed with the cover of this book, so I needed to get my hands on it. And I think that there is a second, oh no, there's a smudge on it. I believe that this isn't the only book. I think it's part of a series, but I could be wrong. I'll put right here if it is part of a series, if there are other books that are out. but I've been really wanting to read this. I grabbed it. I didn't know anything about it, just that person on TikTok really recommended it, and so I said, yes ma'am, I will try it. The next book I have is The Prison Healer. So this is part of a series, I know for sure, so I'll put the other books right here. This is the first book in the series, and I don't know too much about this one either, but I have heard really, really good things about this book, especially from specifically one person, Sarah Crowley. She was reading this series and absolutely loved it. And a lot of the books that she reads, I tend to also really enjoy that I have read. So I've come to kind of trust her recommendations and the books that she reads and know that most likely I'll probably enjoy them as well. So I wanted to give this series a try because when Sarah Crowley says she likes it, I'm like, okay, let me try it as well. Next, I have a hefty one, and this is part of a pretty big series. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but it's called the Harry Potter series. If you haven't heard of it, don't worry, it's okay. It's not talked about very much, but this is the 7th book in the Harry Potter series, Deathly Hallows. And yes, I have not read this book before. I have seen all of the movies many times. I have read all of the other books aside from this one in the series. And for some reason, when I was in that Harry Potter reading era of finally reading the books back in, I think it was 2018, for some reason, as soon as I finished the 6th book, I just got out of that, like I went into a slump, like just wasn't in the mood to finish the final book. I don't know why. I think that's just something Brennan, my friends, and I have realized, come to terms with the fact that I am the type of person that doesn't finish things. I don't finish a series, I don't finish a TV series, like stuff like that, like mainly with books and different things. So this is one of the series that I have not finished yet. There are multiple that I haven't finished, and so I also am wanting to do a reading vlog or a couple reading vlogs where I finish the final books or final book in series that I have not finished yet. So if you are interested in seeing that video, comment down below and stay tuned because I probably will be doing a video on that, on finishing the series that I am in the middle of. But going back to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, I am back in the mood to read this book and finally finish this series, especially during this season. The fall and the winter time is always a time when people tend to gravitate toward the Harry Potter series because it just gives all those vibes. It's set during the school year, so there are a lot of scenes that are more in the fall and winter weather. And so it's just fun to watch during this time. But the 7th book, I really do want to finally get to. I'm finally in the mood to read it, and I wanted to wait until I was more in the mood to read it because I don't want to force myself and then not enjoy it. So that is on my list as well. Well, not on my list, on my radar, I should say. Next is The Naturals. This is part of a series, and this is the first book in the series. I have heard amazing things about this book and the rest of the series. If you haven't heard of it before, this is by the same author, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, who also wrote the Inheritance Game series. So if you've heard of that before, that is the same author as this series. And if you haven't heard of them before, I will put the books right here. But Jennifer Lynn Barnes, I loved her Inheritance Game series. Those books were so good. There were 3 of them, and now she just recently came out with a 4th book, which is on the brothers that were talked about in the series. And a lot of people, when they were waiting for that book to come out, read this series and said that they absolutely loved it. It kind of is like, think Criminal Minds. There are a group of kids, they have these special talents that are valuable to the FBI, I think it is. Yeah. The FBI finds value in these kids who have these special talents, and so they bring them on to solve these crimes that they want cracked. So I have heard amazing things, like I said, about them. And y'all know me. How many times do I have to say it? I love a good murder mystery, true crime, solving crimes, and all of that. So I have a feeling I'm going to love these books, and I've been really eager to get started on them. But this is one of the many books and many series that I have been really wanting to start, and I just don't know which to choose first. This is the first book of 4, and the 4th book I believe is a book and a novella in one. I am really hoping to get started on it soon, but I absolutely loved the Inheritance games, like I said, and people said that it gives the same vibes, and also that this series was even a little bit better than the Inheritance games series. So I'm curious to see if I also really enjoy it or enjoy it more than the Inheritance games too. Next up, this is definitely a fall vibe book, and this actually is one that I had on my TBR for October and unfortunately did not get to, but really wanted to, and that is My Roommate is a Vampire. This is a really cute short romance, and this is the cover. It's really cute. I heard a few people talk about this and say that it was a really cute book. It wasn't anything spectacular, amazing, but that they really still did enjoy it. It was a cute romance, a fun read, and just something that they enjoyed for the fall time and for the Halloween time. And I definitely still want to read it even though we are past Halloween. So I am still going to try and read this book, hopefully, maybe, potentially this month. So this one, you can probably guess what it's about. Obviously, she moves in and her roommate is a vampire. It's set in Chicago and she moves in with this roommate and finds out that he's a vampire, and I guess sparks fly from there. That is all I know, but it sounded like a really cute read and just something fun and easy and different. So that is another book. The next one up, this is set in, is it New York or Chicago? I believe this one is set in New York. It is called the 7-Year Slip. You might have heard of this before. If you haven't, it is a romance. This one follows Clementine and her love interest name. What's his name? What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton. Okay. Does it really not say? Okay, well, that's fine. Anyway, this follows Clementine. Her aunt passed away and she is getting her aunt's apartment condo in New York, and she grew up, I think, going to this condo, to this apartment. And one thing that she discovers is that the apartment, when she goes inside, it brings her 7 years into the past. And someone recently was explaining it and said that it can take her into 7 years into the past or 7 years into the future. I'm not quite sure if that actually is what it is or not, but they read it, so obviously they would know. So I guess it can take you 7 years into the past, but also 7 years into the future. But when you go into that apartment and it brings you into the past or to the future, once you leave, you are back in the present. So when she goes in the apartment, she's 7 years in the past and she meets this guy that's in her apartment, and she's so confused at first and everything like that. And when she leaves the apartment, she apparently comes across him in the present day. But it sounded so intriguing, and so many people said that they absolutely loved this book, and I wanted to give it a shot because it sounded so intriguing, and it definitely felt like a good book for the fall, especially when it's set in New York. I don't know, it just gives that kind of vibe. So 7-Year Slip sounded really good, really cute, and I've heard great things about it. Next up, I have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is the second book in the series. I don't know what it's called, but this is part of the same series as Icebreaker. Icebreaker is a romance book, and it covers this girl who is a figure skater and this guy who is a hockey player. They are forced to share the same rink because normally the figure skaters use one rink and the hockey players use a different rink. One of the rinks is vandalized and is broken, and so they are forced to share the same rink and work with each other, and there's disagreements, arguments, and they aren't all necessarily getting along too much. Stassi and the main guy butt heads a bit with each other and have a lot of banter, but it is also a very steamy book. It's very open door, but it was a really good book too. There is a found family trope in it that I really loved, along with the romance of it. So if you haven't read Icebreaker before, it was very hyped up for a reason. It was a really good book. I enjoyed it. And if you are someone who likes spicy, steamy, open door romances, then I recommend checking it out because it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. And like I said, the found family aspect of it was really good too. And there's a lot of depth to the book. It was really enjoyable. And also, I am someone who enjoys books that revolve around figure skating. When I was little, I used to figure skate and really enjoyed it, and it used to be a dream of mine to be a professional figure skater. That dream obviously did not happen, but I nonetheless love figure skating, so I easily gravitated toward that book and really enjoyed it. And so now finally the second book in the series is out, Wildfire. So this is set at a summer camp, and the two main characters are camp counselors, but I believe in the beginning they have a one-night stand. They don't think they're ever going to see each other again, and then they come across each other and realize that they are both camp counselors at this same summer camp and going to be seeing each other the entire summer. So that is the premise of the book, and I just thought that it was a really beautiful cover, and I really enjoyed Hannah Grace's first book, like I said, Icebreaker, and so I wanted to get to this book as well. This just came out. It's really popular. A lot of people immediately got their hands on it as well and had their eyes on it before it came out, and so I wanted to finally get to it as well. Okay, I only have 3 more books on my radar, on my list to choose from for this month. The next book is called The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and this is actually my friend Shell's book, but she's letting me borrow it in case I do end up reading this one this month. This is obviously a fall book, and like I already said in the beginning, I am in the mood for some fall books, some murder mysteries, cozy mysteries, and fantasy books as well. So I grabbed this book. I don't know anything about it. I literally just know that the cover is absolutely so cute and that it's called literally the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. So it is obviously a fall season book. I know that it is a romance and it looks so cute. I've seen a couple people talk about it on Book Talk and on BookTube and around social media, but I haven't really heard much about what it's about. I just know that it's a really cute romance, so I wanted to give this one a try as well and thought it was adorable. Also, it is literally, the author's name is Lori Gilmore. Like, come on. Some people said that they picked it up because it gives them Gilmore Girl vibes. And once they said that, then they were pointing out the fact that the author's name is Lori Gilmore instead of, is it Lorelai Gilmore? I'm so sorry. I am one of those few that have not seen Gilmore Girls yet, but don't worry, I still really badly want to watch that show. I'm planning on watching it hopefully this year, this season, because I've been wanting to watch that show for so long. But the fact that everyone says that this gives Gilmore Girl vibes and the author's name is Lori Gilmore, I mean, come on, it's perfection. So I want to read it. It looks so cute. And that's that. Second to last book on my list is Sunnyville. This is actually a debut novel written by J.H. Hastings, and this was actually gifted to me by the author. Okay guys, we are going to take a momentary break from the video just to talk a little bit about a special package that I recently got in the mail. This is from a new author that just released their debut novel, and I was fortunate enough to get reached out to by them. The author's name is J.H. Hastings, and they reached out to me about a month ago on Instagram and asked if I wanted to get their book, their debut novel, and read it and talk about it. And I said, absolutely. This is my very first ARC that I've gotten sent from any author, so I'm super, super excited and grateful to have received it and been reached out to. So thank you so much, J.H. Hastings, for reaching out to me and asking me to read your book and send it over to me. I am so, so excited. Let me open up the package and I'll show you guys what it looks like. We'll go through it together. It just came in the mail a couple weeks ago, and I was waiting to be able to talk to you guys about it on here. So when the author reached out to me, they talked a little bit about the novel and said that it is a murder mystery, I believe. And I, of course, as you know, love mysteries of any kind, murder mysteries. So I'm so excited. Oh, and they left a note. It says, "Hello, Julia. Welcome to Sunnyville. I hope you enjoy this story and have a wonderful autumn season. Sincerely, J.H. Hastings." So I'm so excited because now that it is still fall season, of course, in November, even though my brain is already like, it's Christmas time, but it is definitely also still fall. So I want to read this soon to be able to tell you guys all about it. Hello Julia, I just wanted to give you a quick update on the book. You currently have one of the original versions. I have editors working on rewording the description on the back cover, and once they are finished, that change will take place on all the a couple of other book videos that will be coming out this month as well. I'm going to be doing a reading vlog, reading in the parks and finding different cozy spots to read in the Disney parks, and another video that is going to be on some winter recommendations. So stay tuned for those, and make sure to like this video if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
She make my temperature rise. She make me want suicide. I cry whenever she's twisted.